Hello everyone and welcome to the Voice Watch Diaspora. I am your host Caroline Obuya. Today's episode is special because we are talking about a towering figure, and it's none other than Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, who just left us. Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o passed on the May 28th, and the world is mourning because of a vacuum this author has left in the world of literature. And so we are paying tribute to this towering figure. This week the world is mourning. It has lost a towering figure in literature, Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, and it's shocking to most people because it's been a darling, and that's why we are seated here to reminiscence his times and moments when he was in the world of academia and beyond. From Mount Kenya to the world stage, a storyteller was born, Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o. His words carried nations, his truth sparked change. Today we pay tribute with one of his many devoted admirers.
Yeah, my name is Twalha Abbass. I am a PhD student here at Indiana University, majoring in folklore and African studies.
How did you first interact with Ngũgĩ's works?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Tanzania. I went to school there, and during my secondary school is where I first started interacting with Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o's works. And there are 3 books, at least during my time, that were mandatory for us to read. Like before we graduate, we had to read those 3 books. There might be more right now by Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, but during my time, it was the Weep Not Child, there was This Time Tomorrow, and The Black Hermit. So reading those books is when I started understanding Ngũgĩ and his ideology about colonialism, environmental conservation, but also African stories and storytelling. And in fact, what I'm doing right now is the impact of my long-lived interaction with Ngũgĩ's works since that time. So I first interacted with him during my secondary school time, but that interaction has lasted something stronger that I still live with today.
Wow, interesting. And you know, this week as a mourn the demise of Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, how did this news take you,
Okay, first of all, it was not easy to learn about his passing. I know it's part of our life cycle for somebody to pass away. However, for Ngũgĩ, he has always been there, giving out the voice of the African people, the voice of the people who have always been living in the impacts of colonialism, and his voice has always been touching the people with no voices all over the world. So when I learned about his passing, the first reaction that came to me was, okay, Ngũgĩ has done his job, but now I think we as young scholars are now indebted to developing what he started and making sure that we make his dreams come true.
Talking about Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o's work, you first started in Tanzania and you graduated with those work to the United States, specifically in Indiana University. Can you tell us about that transition and how you interacted with it here in the United States? What is it like in Tanzania and here in the United States?
Right. So as I said before, there always has been a tribute to Ngũgĩ in academia, however, not in that extent that we would expect as African scholars. In Tanzania, his works are mandatory. At least some of his works are mandatory to read. The reason they are there is because the education system wants for the young scholars, young people to understand the importance of the voices of the African people when it comes to their liberation. However, I don't think it has been given that much importance for them to understand the real purpose of that establishment. Now, when I came here to the United States then and started doing my master's in African studies, I found that there is a different approach to Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o's works when you compare to the approach that we have back in East Africa. Right here, for example, at Indiana University, in the Lilly Library Archives, there is a very big collection of Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o's works, specifically his materials that he donated to the Indiana University concerning his detention during in the year 1978. So Ngũgĩ, as we all know, he was detained on December 31st, 1977 and stayed in prison without trial for 1 year, 1978. The whole year he was in prison. And the reason was because of his pen, his writing. Now, so as scholars in the diaspora, the way we interact with his works here, it makes us think about the values that we give to our writers and the people that has always been speaking on behalf of other people.
Interesting. When I listen to you with your story from Tanzania and the United States, I have a feeling that these works by Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o have influenced your life in various ways. Could you share with us, with the audience, about how Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o has influenced your life, personal or professional?
Yeah, so I would say both, because right now my academic life is also integrated to my personal life. After interacting with Ngũgĩ's works for the first time during my secondary school education is where I started thinking about the power of storytelling, and I started writing. And by reading more and more of Ngũgĩ's works, I was able to publish my first novel in 2020. And that was, if you read my novel, it's titled Kilio cha Mfamaji. There are stories that, the way I tell them, I was thinking about how Ngũgĩ has been telling his stories in his works, such as Weep Not Child, The River Between, and other works. This Time Tomorrow is the play. But if you compile all those works and the way he's been sharing his stories to the people, that's how I got motivated to write. And number two is my professional development, is how his research has influenced my research, because right now I'm working on African stories and storytelling and the power of our stories in our eco-criticism or eco-activism. And I find that Ngũgĩ has always been concerned with all that, our stories, our environment, and how to conserve our environment, the pre-colonial African environment. And so I find that there is the integration of both in my personal and academic